grab your drink and sit down. Listen to the podcast of the strange, the old, the pagan, and the Christian overcoming evil. This is the Grizzly Files podcast.
All right. Welcome to the Grizzly Files. I know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? Wife, welcome to the Grizzly Files. Are you here?
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's right. Mrs. Grizzly is here.
Present.
The cat is here. I don't know if you can hear him lapping things up as he consumes. No, I'm not going to move the plate away from the phone. You'll just have to suffer with me. But today, what are we drinking, wife?
Water.
Yes, the elixir of life. I tire of it not.
I forgot to bring in the wine.
More
Plus,
accurately.
it's too late for it.
Mm-hmm. Or more importantly, I don't really like the wine my wife bought this time. We tried it early.
I liked it.
Yeah,
You don't.
Yes, my wife likes the taste of bile and turpentine.
It
Rude.
doesn't burn that bad. This one
No,
doesn't.
it doesn't. I don't care about the burning. It's the taste of bile I don't like. Burning's fun. That's what spicy food's for. This is a point of contention, so we are stuck with water this time. Though my wife should be happy. She gets to complete the bottle all on her own now, like a proper little alcoholic.
I am not. Don't you dare say that's what they all say.
No, I was gonna quote The Room, one of the worst movies ever, but it has its cult following. I did not hit her. I did not.
I did not finish the bottle.
I didn't drink it. I did not. Welcome, everybody. We'll have to see what non-alcohol infused Grizzly Files are, but today
it's called mocktails.
Mocktails. Is that when you replace all the vodka with water? That was lame, but I don't care. So today is a very interesting day, wife. What are we talking about? Do you remember?
The Satanic Panic.
The Satanic Panic. But we're going to be more specific. More specific.
Psychologists
No,
always lie.
It's more specific than that.
Never tell.
Liver tests? What?
Never tell an archaeologist how to do his job when you're a psychologist.
Wife was trying to pay attention to me when I was making my notes. That's all she got. But that's okay.
The Jew bought the daycare.
There you go. We are talking about the... Where are my notes here? McMartin Preschool trial. Woo. And all the young people, or everyone younger than 30 goes, the what? Yeah, that's okay. They've been kind of...
I'm younger than 30 by 2 years.
And without me, what would have your reaction been?
What happened?
Oh, you young snapper whippers. But actually, probably a lot of people, even all the way up to 40 these days. They say...
You're only 31.
No, I know. The Satanic Panic, or basically is an event where a wave of satanic trials, so that kind of sounded wrong, excuse me, prosecuting satanic trials and concentrating on what's called Satanic Ritual Abuse, where basically cult members worshipping various forms of Satan and dark gods will come together and abuse people in the rituals for the ritual's sake. So,
and abuse people's children,
torture, even human sacrifice, that kind of thing. The ironically, all these cases, though they involved satanic ritual abuse, they just concentrated on the abuse itself. That sounds obvious, but what that means is when there was a conviction, they did it for they stabbed so and so, they tortured so and so, they did so and so, they raped so and so. Rather than saying it was satanically related, they just concentrated on the crime itself, so they didn't have to prove Satanism. Now, the reason why they did that was, by you might guess why this era was called the Satanic Panic, the people naming it want you to believe something. That women are hysterical. Not in a funny way.
Which is funny, it's coming from those female psychologists from the ones that did the case.
And you made me like scratch your head like, what? Okay, so basically.
Well, then by their definition, those psychologists would have been.
We haven't got to the part where I explain where
I know, I'm
from.
sorry. I'm
Wife just
gun.
wants to call attack psychologists now.
Oh, yes, I do. I had very bad.
Psychos. Psycho. Wow, that was a bad pun. Maybe I do need wine. It gets rid of too many puns. Or maybe I just think
Punctual.
Well, that was our show, people. Go no. Can't overload. So again, to the people in the crowd, especially the young people who haven't heard about this, and I will tell you why it's a good thing in a minute. Not the event that
why we haven't heard of it.
Yes, why we haven't heard of it. Thank you. I need to clarify there. Yeah. Sometimes
it takes a young wife to tell you.
Communications can be confusing, but basically, it was a whole wave of a satanic ritual abuse, or just abuse related to Satanism and other stuff like it, that popped up in the 80s all over the entirety of the Americas, from Florida to California to Texas to Missouri. You had this whole string of cases where people were being tried for horrendous crimes where the motivations seemed to be ritualistic or satanic worship in nature. Now, interestingly enough, and you may be wondering, oh, is this part of the show? Is this because okay, look, all right, a lot of cryptid and creepy stuff can be tied back to ritual weirdness going on. Like a lot of these places in the national parks, like they call them triangles and all this other things, that a lot of disappearances and stuff happen. Are actually
Bermuda Triangle, whatever we call it.
Oh, it's always the triangle. Well, after the Bermuda Triangle became popular, everyone's like, "We have a triangle too. We kill people too."
I know they're not referring to a woman's part.
They wish they were. Sorry. Anyway.
Shut up.
Oh no, the Mother Nature, the Mother Nature references come now. No.
I started it.
Oh God! Oh, now they're all going to be wondering about it. You're too young, whoever you are. I'm 6, and you're too young. Anyway, a lot of those actually have satanic rumors of Satanism and cultism going on, and actual cases that are brought up. There's one. Dang it, I don't have it in my notes because, sometimes you have to reference things you didn't realize you were going to reference. But there's one triangle in the New England area.
What happened to the old England?
I assume it's still next to Europe. That was
horrible.
Do you hear how badly she wanted the pun and just couldn't pull it off? It was bad. Next thing you know, she goes, "What happened to the original York?" What am I? It's like I'm talking.
Yorkshire.
When she gets like this, it's like I'm talking to a Zoolander character. Yeah, man. What happened to the original England? Is it even there? Yeah, it's on the map, dude.
But
why male models? Ironically, a movie about lots of conspiracy theories being real. How about that? Yes, it was very much on purpose that everyone was stupid in it. The whole point was to mock the concept. Specifically the concept of MK Ultra. But that's...
This is hilarious how you just...
Well, I can't help it's all connected. I haven't even got to the original point of the original tangent. That's what's funny. I'm on like the 5th tangent. I'm on like a 4th maze, man. Keep up! 4 degrees is... Whoa. 40 chess? Try... Put a number in there. Put chess. 2.
It's a tutu.
I have an image of the kings wearing tutu.
It's on the collars. It's a tutu cut.
Oh my.
You know, those little fluffy collars they had.
No, not the fluffy
New
collar.
England.
Well,
Now we had water.
Well, she did it, gentlemen. I got distracted. So, which is why I keep her around, obviously, to distract me. And well, the rest,
that's not hard.
Nah, that's true. But then, an attractive woman goes, "It's not hard to distract men." No kidding. Your existence is distracting. Anyway.
Yeah, better than them anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So, this triangle in New England, which I can't think of, and it's killing me. It may actually be like Pennsylvania area. No, that doesn't sound right. This is killing me. And I'm using my phone to record, so I'm not looking it up right now. You might be able to find it. But basically...
Maybe I don't want that search history on my phone.
Ooey. In this one in particular, though, there was a satanic cult. And yes, they admitted to worshiping Satan. They had a charismatic leader who was rumored to have cut off the head of one of the prostitutes in the cult who wanted to leave the cult and then use her head as a soccer ball. Now,
I remember you told me that's right. That's
yes, there were many convictions. This goes way back when. So this area has been a hotspot for lots of satanic stuff. Interestingly enough, the weird thing is, and part of the reason why I bring this up is, the more you study cryptids and things, I brought this up that connected to spiritual stuff, but the more you look at the creepy stuff in the United States, the more you start finding this weird Satanist stuff and cultic stuff just popping up all over the place. And you might be saying, oh yeah, because it's scary. No, but it's more than that. Like, you don't get weird satanic robe wearing dudes.
Like, literally just...
feels like that, but no.
Yeah.
I'm talking about actually historic cases. For instance, many of the serial killers in the United States have had satanic motivations and are very open about it, or have shown signs of actually being in a group, but conveniently the police or whatever don't look into the group. They only pin it on the one guy. That would have been
the fall guy.
The really famous dude. Ooh.
There's so many famous.
No, but these are really... He's like when you're referencing serial killers, like this, this is the problem with my tangents.
Who referenced
Ted Bundy? Ted Bundy. When you look in his case, first of all, right, the
horrible name.
Yeah, the astronomical amount of women he killed. Like, people like, wow, he was really prolific. No, it's because there was. I won't say for sure. I'm saying when you look into it, it looks like there was a group of them doing the killing, and he was just the one that got caught.
The fall guy.
Exactly. And just all kinds of stuff like that. All kinds of, like, going way back. A few of the crazy the strangler something dude was putting Satanist symbols, like the star, the upside down star, on his hand and like showing it to all the reporters, and all the rest was like, I do these for Satan. And then, basically, there's a lot more of it all throughout American history than you might expect. And another great example that I've brought up in I only had like 4 episodes or something, but in a previous episode, I don't know which one, I talked about how there was a case where a really haunted building was basically started because the dance hall. Remember? It's funny. I have all these notes here with names, and I'm not using anything on the. Why would I use the notes when I'm not using anything in the notes right now? It's a long way home. Gosh, we didn't set a timer. I don't know how long we've been going.
It's only been 18 minutes.
Good. You pay attention to that, wife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give these greedy people too much. You're greedy. Drain my life force and just move on to the next video. Oh. Speaking of draining the life force, so in this one, the dance hall was originally a slaughterhouse where 2 Satanists took a woman, cut off her head, and threw it down a well.
Oh gosh!
In a satanic ritual, and this tainted the property, and for obvious reasons, and it's one of the most haunted properties ever. Blah blah blah. And so that's why it comes up encroaching more times than you'd expect. Even with cryptids, there's all like take the story of the Goat Man, which is obviously very fictitious. And the Goat Man itself, you may be surprised. I think the Goat Man itself exists. What it is, don't ask me. The stories around it are pretty much bull, except for there was one interesting story. This is something people don't usually know about, but one of the most famous sightings of the Goat Man led to a posse being formed to go after it. Like you're talking, like someone put a money on its head, and something like a couple hundred people with guns show up. They're all in one spot. There's cops there, and the thing reveals itself in full daylight. This is before cameras on everyone, by the way.
Oh god.
And basically scares everyone away. This is a group of like 200 guys, or like 100 guys with guns, and the thing scares them all away, including police and all the rest. It's all documented. It's very interesting. There's physical documents talking about how this weird, crazy thing bluff charged them and they all ran. And some of them say they shot it and it didn't have an effect, blah, blah, blah. The point is, the fake story about it's all about Satanism. And, well, depending on the story, but you know, you get the point. A lot of cryptids are often around these stories as well. Now, I'm going to make an argument through. I don't know if we'll make it a series or not, but for now, I'm not going to say every single episode after this until I'm done is about this, but we'll be bringing it up every now and then. And that is that Satanism is an integral part of American power for a long time.
I mean, think about, I told you, one of our siblings or whatever, they gone to a heavy metal band and whatnot, screamo music. They literally put on goat heads on their head and were running around in circles making goat sounds.
Yes. Not understanding the symbology of it all.
It,
or
like
understanding it.
And just,
somebody understood it.
Somebody did.
Now, it's hard to know who's LARPing and who is doing the thing, but the LARPers are the useful idiots. You know what I mean? And
sorry, that's when you bring up American culture, I think about even music that's there.
Now, I like a lot of... No, don't get me wrong. I like a good rock music, but we have to recognize its origins. Mm-hmm. I say we can save it and we can use it as a counterforce against them, but you gotta understand they did use it. I don't think it's like the rhythms or the style. It's the words and the messages in the original rock songs. And that is pretty easy to see. Also, the makeup and everything. Kiss is just essentially trannies before trannies were popular.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, that's exactly what they were. Mm-hmm. This is what a lot of these rockers essentially just look like trannies.
They're just basically dressed in a different variation of drag.
Yeah, and thus it's no surprise then that a lot of trannies just look like weird demons in makeup. Oddly enough, if you look at the Oni masks in Japan, I'm all over the place. I just brought up Japan. Woo! Yeah.
That's
bam,
disgusting.
Bam. I haven't even gotten to my notes yet. If you look at the Oni masks, what do they look like? Well, they look like what a lot of these trannies look like, with the weird thing and the big gross features, and then like things like, you know, the ones in those tranny story hours where they have like the horns and stuff on top of their heads that they put there, right? Yeah. It's just an Oni mask. A literally demon mask. Thank you for letting us know exactly what you are. You know, I didn't mean to make it about this, but consider this episode, shall we say, an intro into a topic about what we'll say is dark psychology and the darkness behind things like trannyism and all the rest. And we're going to start with establishing a connection between Satanism and psychology. And that's going to make a lot of like, and I don't care, because either you guys are ignorant and you should have known psychologists, or you're one of them. In which case, neither of it matters. And your opinion's stupid.
About psychology too, some of them are even there to tell others about this trannyism stuff going on
for a while.
And what has happened to some of our...
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I know it's interesting to watch, right? You could see tools like Joe Rogan and whatnot that are going in and like pushing back just a little, right? In the hopes that we'll join. This is a very political episode. I didn't mean it to be, but like the hopes that we'll join the army and go die for a certain country of Middle Eastern origins, and and so right, they're toning back their trannyism. So this is a great time to beat psychologists over the head because they were the ones pushing this bullcrap. And now since they're throwing them under the bus in the hopes to, get something else going on. And by the way, if by some, I guess it wouldn't be a miracle, some curse they manage to win, they'll bring this back again, right? This is how they work. It's always what they want. And part of the reason why I bring this up too is remember what do trannies say? I'm us, them. It's always this weird plural pronoun, var, or something like that.
What? And they always have to come up with a different ridiculous name.
But sticking to the plural.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bible, there's one set of demons that make it very clear. They're all in one guy, and Jesus makes them speak, and they say, "We are legion. We are called legion because we are many." Us, them, making themselves look like the picture of demons and the masks of demons of ancient days, and perpetually in weird Mother Earth pagan societies and whatnot. All this stuff is connected. Now I'm going to make something that's going to make people uncomfortable. When you watch a lot of these 80s shows and stuff of like ex-Satanists coming out and talking about what they were experiencing and what was going on, they connect the gay community, the cross-dressing community of the day, if you want to call that, with the cultic communities. And they would all meet and mix match and all the rest.
And they're all cultic. They're all,
They all serve the same master in the end. They might call them a different name. There may be a couple of levels, like a watcher or two between them and the devil. But it's always the same. It always is.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, on that note.
Hey, so let's start establishing this to those who are more skeptical. And to those, I'd say the younger minds are much more acceptable of this. Because they have not as much propaganda on this front in their face. Most of them don't even know what the Satanic Panic is. And most of them are more likely to read about it and then say, yeah, that Satanism totally happened. Because of what we've seen. The mask has slipped in this day and age.
Even the internet's slowly trying to erase bits and puzzles of it.
Oh, of course. It's funny. I read a Wikipedia article on this today just because I wanted to see it. It was hilarious, all the stuff they left out. We'll get into it.
They kind of put in too.
Yeah. For example, the main witness, right? A lady named Johnson. They claimed was diagnosed as schizophrenic, and thus she was thrown out. No. She died under mysterious circumstances before she could testify at the trial, and then they impugned her.
The leading officer.
No, and then the defense impugned her reputation. Basically, without her there to defend herself because she was dead, made her look like a schizo. You see how that works? Isn't that convenient? And we see why psychology is often tied to these things. It's used to hide this stuff in plain sight. And we're going to go back to the hysterical...
Is that what the term reverse psychology is? You see it? No, you don't.
But,
okay.
And psychology, it's not always just Satanism. It's been used as a tool to hide stuff all the time. For example, I'm sure you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome. Even the younger people in our audience will probably know about Stockholm Syndrome. Complete fake. The whole basis behind it, if you don't know, was a story about terrorists taking over a Stockholm Olympic event. If I remember correctly, I might be fudging some details. The witnesses actually hated the cops in this situation and wanted to be and liked the perpetrators, the terrorists that put them in danger, right? And it was called Stockholm Syndrome, saying sometimes you will connect with your captor and think your captor is cool and blah 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 blah. As it turns out, that was total hogwash. The cops in this situation were actively putting the hostages in danger, and in some cases the terrorists were putting themselves between the hostages and the cops to shield them from fire. The terrorists were protecting the people they were holding hostage from the police, who were just, shooting like idiots, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched a video the other day. This is fresh in my mind.
What's it called? Star Wars? Because the clones.
No. The clones were accurate. Those stormtroopers, I don't know what they were trying to hit.
That's what I meant. The stormtroopers.
Yeah. Who cares? Anyway.
I certainly don't.
No.
You said that the police were just, shooting like idiots.
No. Well, particularly, there's a video of a Las Vegas cop. I kid you not, wife. I should show you this video.
Oh, he went with too many strippers, huh?
Probably because he's driving. He gets in
double lines.
He gets in a driving shootout in a neighborhood in front of a school. He fires his gun through his windshield at the car he's chasing. Now, they claim they got shot at first by that car, and there was definitely an exchange of fire. The video shows him shooting.
Who shot first?
While driving.
Oh, gosh.
While driving.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly does not hit the car. This is a crowded street in Las Vegas.
Did he hit somebody?
No one got hit by some miracle. And he's emptying a Glock. And if you don't know, those Glocks have like 17 rounds.
Right.
And he's like emptying it. Busy streets. And he's clearly missing. And you're obviously going to miss. And then first he's trying to shoot out the window. Then he shoots through the windshield. Yeah, that kind of idiot was there at Stockholm. And that's why the hostages preferred the terrorist over the cops, because the cops were actively putting them in danger. See, even Stockholm Syndrome is bull. Like, psychology is actually largely looked at by most of the hard scientists as kind of bull. A lot of it is bull. Not all of it. And let me tell you, a lot of our enemies, it's like, who's your enemy? You know who I think the enemy is. We talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
This is, the father of lies and all that, mother trucker. And so, by the way, we serve Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the God and the King of all. Good job. The Son of God. I serve him. Okay?
Jesus Christ.
That Jesus Christ.
Not just
Nazareth, Son of God.
Anymore.
Yeah, I know. They do all this. If you don't know, that's called a witch test.
Yeah.
Just to prove, because demons don't like to use the name. So
you have to literally use Jesus Christ. Not just Christ.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe I started by saying it. Anyway.
I can't remember if you said... never mind.
So, let's get into more examples that specifically tie into Satanism. And like the Stockholm Syndrome, right? Why did they do that? The psychologists were brought in to protect the cops. They were brought in by government officials, paid to do it. The whole point was to cover up the fact that the cops had put those hostages in danger. And they were acting wildly, and the terrorists were actually protecting the hostages more than the cops. Which, everyone please scratch your head at that craziness. But that is what all the witnesses described. And so, like that, we have a whole mess of trials in the 80s. Basically, where people were saying, these people are abusing our children or killing these people, and they're doing it for satanic reasons, and the psychologists are helicoptered in to say, no, they're just, you see, they're just imprinting what they want the kids, they're giving leading questions. Forget all the physical evidence over there, the blood and the guts, and the obvious ritual abuse. Or tunnels in this case. Forget all that. Because clearly, we psychologists, we know better. And it worked. God, it worked. No, actually, it didn't work. Most of these cases ended in a conviction. The McMartin Preschool, which is a big one, didn't. But most of the cases afterwards definitely did. And most of those people are either dead from pew pew or still in prison. Except for one who got let out, who admitted to the crime and then admitted again, and whose friends who were there all said he did it. But, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for political reasons, he was released.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm not growling over here.
Come on, you.
I gotta get moving.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta
we went way into the weeds here. And
yeah, we're on a time crunch here.
Oh my gosh! But I hope you.
Are you stressed?
I'm a little stressed now.
Okay.
I have all these notes. I'm never gonna be able to use them all. But okay, so
Not like you were using them anyway.
Ah! Shut up! I'm finally at the point where my notes matter.
Who make them matter?
You suck. Anyway, so in the McMartin the preschool in California. Okay. Now, what's fun about the Satanic Panic and the joke about hysterical women?
That's not really fun, by the way. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Was the whole psychology lie? What they actually try to say happened was there was a whole wave of people panicking about fake Satanism because a bunch of women were going into the workforce in the 1970s and they felt guilt and remorse, which they should, for not being with their children and putting them in the daycares, and that created a situation where they were so hysterical that they went schizophrenic and saw Satanism everywhere where there wasn't any. The irony of several female psychologists being involved with this theory has not left me. It shouldn't leave you. I would think that this very theory sounds a little hysterical and female-like. I think we should just all send females back to where they belong with their children in the kitchen, so they're not so hysterical anymore. Problem solved. Except for the Satanism, that was real.
If they're barefoot in the kitchen, that means they're well grounded.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me that the people pushing feminism would come up with this concept. And, I think this is why they don't bring it up in schools anymore. I feel like
this is an argument for keeping your wife at home.
Yes. They'll see Satanists everywhere, and they'll really see them. I mean, this trial is so crazy. It's the most expensive trial that's ever been done. There was like the first set of jurors had to be kicked out. They brought more jurors in. The investigation was very.
A lot of money put in.
Yes, there was excavations looking for the tunnels, but they were very half-hearted, and then the evidence was left out.
Yeah,
that was later found.
Telling a man how to do his job.
And then later, more evidence was found.
Forget this.
Yep. Like I said, star witness was killed and nobody knows, but died and nobody knows how she died. Isn't that convenient? Like, let me ask you guys a question. Let's say there's a mob guy, right? He's gonna go away for a long time. They have one star witness. The witness dies. They're not sure how the person died, but the witness died just before the trial.
How convenient.
Yeah. Do any of you really believe that person wasn't murdered? Of course they were murdered. And so we have a case here, which, by the way, involved a lot of rich and powerful people. The testimony of the kids said that a lot of rich and powerful people that they knew, some of them they knew from TV, were involved in the rituals that they were abused in. So we have a lot of money behind the defense to make sure this is all thrown out. Now, conveniently, Johnson, the lady who was murdered, and I'm going to say that, okay, fine, I'll say allegedly murdered. No, she was murdered. They don't know how she died, but excuse me, she died of suddenly. She went into the future and she got herself vaxxed to make sure she didn't die of COVID.
Oh, that's.
And then she died, but then she came back and she died. Suddenly strikes. And, nowadays suddenly is heart failure from too many vaxes. Back then, it was being too close to Satanism and not liking it.
Oh, Lord.
And this isn't the only death involved with this, by the way. But a cop who was involved with the trial, a very important one, part of the defense. Yeah, he was the lead investigator for the defense. There it was. Was committed suicide only a year later after this case. How convenient. Stop that guy before he has any cold feet about things. So,
He definitely has cold feet now.
Yeah, the amount of just like people dying, evidence not being recognized, and all this crap going down. Dude, the building, the preschool, burnt down, quotation marks, accidentally a couple years after the trial. No, it didn't completely burn down, but it had a fire within it. How convenient. That's going to come up a little later too. There's all this crap going down. It drives me crazy with this case when you actually studied it. The funny thing is, um, the parents were so sure their kids weren't lying. The whole defense that the defense used in the trial was that the investigators and the parents were planting these ideas of these stories of being ritually raped and abused in satanic rituals by the teachers and whatnot, and by these rich people in the woods and all this other stuff. All of that was implanted in their mind by the investigators using coercive techniques to get the kids to say what they want. And conveniently, the only grown up who obviously was not messed up by the investigators was, dead by suddenly before she could testify. Mm-hmm. And then that was apparently enough for jurors in the 1980s. Somebody shoot these people because they deserve it. If you're a juror who did that, you're an idiot. Please, or you were paid off. I wonder.
They probably took the backs, so you know.
Oh, okay, good. You're right. They're probably dead now. That's good. People say, "Oh, that's so." No. If you let these raping bastards, I'll use that thing, get off of this with the evidence on display, you're either too dumb for society, so please go die before your genes spread, or you're actively crooked, in which case, please go die so your genes don't spread. Okay. Yes. So, next, because I gotta speed things up. After the case gets thrown out, the parents hire a couple of PhD doctors, a professional archaeology team, to go to the site and inspect it. Before the building gets bought by a certain private investor, which is funny. Eventually, this property, this preschool, is bought by an Arnold Goldstein. A Jew. This is funny because of Weinstein, Epstein again in the Belgium thing. Like, you've heard of the Epstein Island stuff. There was a castle in Belgium used for the same kind of stuff, who, oddly enough, when that came to light, had another Epstein involved. I'm sure it's all just a coincidence. Random Middle Eastern country. I will go at my own pace. I know.
You told me you had a time crunch, so I'm keeping you to your word.
I want to explore the tangent. Anyway.
Being an accountability partner.
Yes, okay. So,
that's one of my duties as a wife.
I'll leave a link to the findings of this archaeological team. This included an archaeologist. Oh, excuse me. Oh, there's the name. No, wait. Okay. First of all, Ted Gunderson was an ex-FBI agent who was hired by the parents to continue the investigation. He went and found this archaeological team made up of E. Gary Stickle, an archaeologist PhD guy, a geologist called Dr. Michael or something like that. Oh, I can't read my own handwriting. That's unfortunate. And then a professional
Don Michael, PhD.
And then a professional, not herbalist, like a professional landscaping guy for trees and stuff like that.
A tree surgeon.
They called him a tree surgeon, but he worked with trees for like 25 years. He was a professional for trees, like
tree cut 46 years early. So
give me my own notes. Not all notes are meant to be read like that. It's to remind me. They don't need to hear all that. Golly. She's skipping ahead. Anyway, and you'll see why he was brought in a little bit. And they started to excavate. And they excavated farther closer to where the kids said they were brought in by the tunnels, which incidentally was not. Like, they looked at where the Attorney General did their investigation that came up with, oh, there were no tunnels under there, or were inconclusive, and they concluded that they were searching too far away from the property, which is a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't close enough to find the tunnels that they found. And they found 2 tunnels. One they basically said was a tunnel, but because there was not as much proof for it, they said, okay, it's an alleged tunnel. We can't say with a lot of scientific we can say it's close, but not with as much rigorous evidence that we'd like to say, but it's a tunnel. And then the second one was that, like, it was clearly made for humans, all this other stuff. They were able to date the tunnels because there was this whole thing. This is something else you'll find, right? Is a psychological journal came up with this counter thing that get this right, a psychological hoo-ha organization.
Literally a hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha. Tries to tell a professional group of PhD archaeologists, geologists, and a guy with 25 years of experience working with trees
Had to do his job.
that they just found a garbage pile and they were too stupid to find out. Psychologists! Have you ever seen a psychologist try to dig a trench? It's hilarious. They are not physically capable people. They know nothing about trees. They know nothing about dirt. And then, like, the one gardening psychologist comes, actually, I know a lot. You shut up. You're not.
There just wasn't enough nitrogen in the
soil. And this makes me a professional about your children's sexuality. Come and pay me money so I can.
Already having a potassium too.
Oh, do you do yoga? The trees like it. And basically, they tried to say, oh, that's not a tunnel. They just found a garbage pit left. And yeah, it's funny, when you actually read the archaeologist's notes, they bring up the fact that, yes, there was a bunch of trash and stuff. But they concluded, because of the looseness of the dirt and other artifacts they found that was deeper than the supposed trash pit, that the trash was added after the pit was filled in.
That's dumb.
Right. Basically, above the tunnel, they added trash and loose dirt and tried to say that this is just a trash pile from the previous owner. They even threw in a mailbox and all this other stuff, but there were various artifacts farther down that proved otherwise. For instance, this is kind of funny considering modern stuff, there was a bag farther down, it was like 42 inches or something like that, that was a Disney bag. And it had a date on it when it was made, 1983. Which meant it had this thing, which was deeper down, which means it was buried before the trash that was supposed to be older than it. That makes any sense. They found the trash that was supposed to be old and above the older artifact. Mm-hmm. This is important. And so another aspect was, to make the tunnels, the guys had to cut through roots of a living tree. Mm-hmm. And
you would see those.
Right. And so they were able to clearly dictate that these were cut by hand tools. It wasn't a rodent doing it or anything like that. And it was cut in just a perfect straight line, like a hacksaw. They didn't cut all the way through one. They just bent it. Mm-hmm. And they were able to, the tree guy was able to factor in how long it had been cut, because it was starting to regrow. And he was like, okay, if it took this long for this branch to grow, and 25 years of experience with these trees, he was like, okay, this is 4 to 6 years of regrowth. Mm-hmm. So the tunnel was done 4 years before they looked at it, which is right around the time that this alleged stuff was happening. And so there's more stuff too. Like, they found more artifacts. They found, like, plates with pentagrams on them. Mm-hmm. They found essentially a little witchcraft thing, like the whole big, what's the big pot that the witches go boil? Yeah, cauldron! A cauldron.
Don't say it too loud, come on.
Cauldron!
Aaron.
Cauldron.
Stop.
And some other stuff, a little witch thing. Mm-hmm. And they found signs that they found a bunch of tiles, floor tiles, just sitting there. And a lot of them had been taken by the Attorney General, but they were able to, like, buy them. They were on these bags, so they were able to see where the stacks were. So there's a very good chance, though they didn't have time to look at all, that the floor had been patched or completely redone. And considering all the other evidence they found of them hiding the tunnels, right? And remember the fire that happened a few years after the trial, right? The convenient fire that destroyed a bunch of evidence, probably, and all the rest. Well, they found a chamber in there with wooden posts that had been burned, which means the fire got in the tunnels somehow and burned a bunch of stuff. Convenient, but it didn't burn everything until they buried it. And I bring all this up to say that this trial went through in favor of the defense, when just a little more digging by the Attorney General would have brought all this up. But psychologists come in, say, even though I'm a psychologist and I've never dug a single trench in my life, that is clearly a garbage pile. Okay? Don't listen to the psychologist.
See, that's garbage.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's dirt. It's trash. It was just made by a farmer. Okay.
Oh
okay?
no! Oh my gosh!
Shut up.
Litter.
Oh man, yeah. Right. And this woman here, she's dead, so she can't defend herself, and we don't know why she died or how she died, but she was clearly schizophrenic. So
she can't defend herself.
Yeah, and these guys here, even though all the different stories match up perfectly and all the rest, yeah, they just planted the stories in the kids' brains. And don't look at the fact that the defendant over here is intimidating the kids on the stand, which was that actually happened. The parents said they were watching the guy make motions and intimidate their kids on the stand. Why the other people didn't do anything about it, in my opinion, perhaps I'm not the best dictator of law, but if I'm a judge and someone does that in my court, my first thought is, you're guilty.
Yeah.
You're guilty of something. Anyway, so this goes on. Hilariously enough, the teachers, before they got arrested, we're going back a little bit, right? They ran when they found out that this was going to happen. They ran. And the psychologists explained, like, oh, well, they were worried they were going to go to jail. No crap. They did a crime. That's why you run. So they ran because they were scared because these investigators were out to get them. And this woman was a schizophrenic. Don't look at the fact that she died for no good reason. Don't look at that. Right? And interestingly enough, all this evidence I'm bringing up that came out later, the FBI actually had a bunch of files on it and they released it. All of it doesn't matter. You know why? Because it didn't do anything. All the physical evidence you can think of, everything backed up the stories of those kids. And let me tell you, some of their stories were crazy, like being flown on planes and all this other stuff. But the tunnels matched up to their stories perfectly. Drugs were also used, so...
Well, duh.
Well, and so some of it might have been hallucination, but I am very confident.
What happens when you're high? You hallucinate.
Yeah, so some of it might have been hallucinations, but I think even the crazy stuff happened. Moreover, one of the locations...
to keep the kids asleep till they get...
I really wish I'd written the notes, but one of these locations that was tied to this was a mansion. And it's nicknamed the Satanic Castle. And it burnt down soon after this. Oh, more fire covering up evidence. I know I need to hurry.
You really need to hurry, yeah.
But I think I've laid out what this McMartin case is. Psychologists were flown in to cover it up. Now, why do all this? Well, first of all, these are crazy people, but more to the point, this was a spiritual attack on the American people. The whole push towards daycare, all that stuff, was meant to get kids away from parents and put women into the workforce so that they would not spiritually protect their children. And the more kids that are damaged like this, the more influence they can have over them. It's a strange thing to talk about. But sometimes abuse, especially some of these rituals, I think are actually real. And real in the fact that what they attempt to do works. All you have to do is look at the fact that a lot of these rich people who go to places like we brought up before, the Bohemian Grove, Hillary Clinton literally said in an email, I need to make another sacrifice to Moloch and try to pretend that was a joke. Who makes jokes like that? I don't know. Maybe a weird hag lady who goes, There's a baby sleeping.
That was pretty loud and it was right in my ear.
You're welcome. She screams really loud sometimes in my ear. Not at me, hilariously enough, but
No.
no. She's like, no, don't
We're on
talk
a
about
time
my
crunch.
son. That is my time crunch. So I was
I
rushed.
crunched it more.
But consider this an introduction to a lot of strings that you're going to see in future episodes of Satanism around spiritual stuff and are being covered up by psychologists and all the rest. And little wonder they want to cover it up. Because imagine if this became mainstream enough that people actually recognized it and did enough research like I did, or just heard about it enough. People would stop listening to psychologists. And what do they have if nobody listens to them? A wall, I guess.
You know what's really interesting?
Mm-hmm.
After, the mother has kids and whatnot, they do the postpartum tests and whatnot. And last time that happened, they're like, oh, does it mean that if you fail these tests or whatnot, you will be put on medication?
Oh, we should clarify. The last time my wife was pregnant, about to have a baby.
True. No.
Oh, just after the baby.
After the baby. After
the
having the baby, the postpartum appointment, they always have you take an assessment test. And if you fail the assessment test, then you see a psychiatrist and blah, 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 blah.
And they don't make money unless, drugs. Or they make more money.
But it was just interesting when they actually tell you, oh, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be on medications, which tells me people are questioning it now.
Yes. And to be fair, and we'll bring this up in a future episode, there does seem to be some medications that do help with demon possession, which is kind of crazy to think about.
And they'll make you a training.
Yeah,
anyway.
but that's a book for another day. A psychologist who suddenly realized he was fighting demons, which is a fascinating concept. A real psychologist. So I do want to say I've been impugning a lot of psychologists. Not all of them are bad. Most of them, and these days, if they're able to practice, are probably bad. And we'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. Nice to have you. Really long episode. You're welcome, you greedy freaks. See you next week. Oh my god! Where's the button? Thanks for watching another episode of the Grizzly Files. New episodes come up every Saturday at 5 p.m., so make sure to come back for that. We also have a Sunday school lessons for young men called The Warrior's Path. New lessons go up every single Sunday at 9:30 in the morning in written form, and then on arcava.com, and then we'll do a live stream going over it the next day on every Monday at 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. depending on when my kids go to bed. We also have another live stream on Fridays, which is our Grizzly Gaming stream. It's a good time to hang out and talk games and all kinds of crazy crap. That one, again, will start at 10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. depending on when my kids go to bed. We also have a kids book that you guys should check out. It's called David and the Three Bears. It's up on Amazon. It's like if you made the story about King David as a kid when he's attacking bears and things into a fable. Yeah, that's all. Come back for more. We're going to be making more content as we go. So like, subscribe, share. Come back for it all. Can't wait to see you there.